Good afternoon, my friends. This is the Grimflayer. Hope everybody out there is doing really well today, and the first thing I've got to say is, for all of the Rock loyalists out there, do not panic. Do not panic. I am playing Jund back to back. Don't worry. I'm not abandoning the Rock. I will never, ever abandon the Rock. Never will abandon Golgari midrange, but as those of you who have seen my previous Jund video, the one we just put out, will know, I do have these cards. I do have the Ren and 6s on loan from Patreon supporter Marc-Andre Kurisinski, and we're going to play them while we've got them. And speaking of Mark, this is his list. If you want a full deck tech and you have not seen my previous video, please see the first 10 minutes or so of that for the full deck tech on what you're looking at here. At the end of the previous video, I did say that I felt we were just a tad high on the bombs and on the anti-creature technology, and that maybe something from this column, which used to also include a damnation, could make way for another piece of graveyard hate, maybe something like a surgical extraction that can flex into other matchups, at least while the Hogak menace persists at the very top of the format. So that's exactly the change I made. Otherwise, it's 74 out of the 75, same as we saw in the last video, the same list that Mark gave me to play for this donation league that we just did. And Surgical, of course, is nice. Honestly, these days with Hogak and Dredge so prominent, it could have just been a 4th Nile Spellbomb. All 4 Nile Spellbombs is a very valid decision right now. However, you know me, I like to hedge. I like to have cards that can flex into other matchups, so maybe the first Surgical is just as good, arguably better in a lot of spots, even against the all-in graveyard decks in the 4th Spellbomb, plus it can flex into big mana matchups and combo matchups and the like. So, once more, not going all in on Jund, never to return to the Rock again. We're just simply playing the cards while we've got them. And so at the end of last video, I said we're going to go back to the Rock next, and we're going to do some live recorded stuff next. And that was my plan. But then I said, well, why don't we play with the Jund cards for a little while longer while we have them before I have to return them to Mark? And then this league happened, and I think you've got to see this league. I think it's one well worth watching. So just kind of trying to bring you the best content possible, my friends. Again, don't worry, Rock loyalists. We are continuing to dedicate ourselves to the Rock on this channel. Definitely going to try to forge a new way forward. I've already done some theoretical work with that. Stuff like playing 7 discard spells, excluding the blue-white control matchup from our deck-building plans, playing the full 4 Plague Man, and so on. I'm going to continue to play a lot of Rock, and I'm going to continue to kind of main the Rock as far as my theory crafting goes, but we're going to play some Jund as well along the way, at least while we have the Ren and 6s to borrow. So I hope you will stay with me for this league, and before we get into it, we, I guess, once again have to thank Marc-Andre. Absolutely love it, my friend. Thanks so much for letting me borrow the cards. I guess this is technically kind of a bonus donation league for you, because your support and your lending of the cards made this league possible. So this one's for you, buddy, and of course all Patreon supporters mean the absolute world to me. I am a working father. Expenses can be tight. This is just about my only hobby, and your support helps me carve out time from what is a very busy schedule to keep bringing you this content. So link is in the description below. If anybody out there would like to jump on the Patreon train, I would truly appreciate it. There are tier rewards. There are over 60 of us now, and we'd love to have you aboard. So thanks again to everybody doing that. Thanks to subscribers on YouTube, and without further ado, let's play some more Jund. Round 1, Game 1 of this Modern League, my friends, and we're on the play right where we want to be, and we've got a low curve with a lot of interaction and a Skoos to clean it all up. So we hope we're against a deck that plays to the board, where our push and our bolt and maybe our trophy will be good. But either way, turn 1 Inquisition should be good. Opponent has kept 7, and we will see that we are against Infect. So let's take a look to take a chance to do a threat assessment of the hand. Threat number 1, Inkmoth Nexus. Threat number 2, Blighted Agent. So right away we have to consider that we have 3 removal spells and they only have 2 threats. So right away we have to consider, should we leave the threat in their hand, the one we can take as Blighted Agent, should we leave the Blighted Agent and attack the hand? Well, what else is going on? Groundswell and Might of Old Krosa, these are both merely pump spells. They are not pump spells that double as protection spells, unlike other things in the Infect deck. So, between the fact that they don't have a way to protect their threats, and the fact that Spell Pierce is in hand, now we know about it, now we can play around it if we ever hit a third land immediately. There's a lot to think about. But at the end of the day, they've got 2 threats already. The threat density is not actually as low as it sometimes seems in Infect, especially these days with Waterlogged Grove. They do have a good ability to churn through the deck, and we also don't have the most proactive clock in the world. All we have is a Scooz as far as things stand. So I did say, let's take away the Blighted Agent. I didn't see another must-take card in hand, but under other circumstances, we could definitely have left the Blighted Agent alone. In any case, back to us, and drawing another land is pretty fine here. Lets us ensure that we're going to hit that third land to play around Spell Pierce with our bolts and our pushes in the future. And also is going to let us cast a lot of cards in our deck. Back to the opponent, they're going to deploy the Nexus, they're going to play a Noble Hierarch, so they have found another creature. And contrary to what some might assume, Noble Hierarch is kind of a must-kill in a lot of situations. She does so much. She is going to give that natural Exalted buff to whatever attackers they have. She's going to give them more access to mana. Definitely a big, big issue. We draw Bloodbraid Elf, so not really a card we wanted to see here. And take a moment, my friends, to think about what you would do here. But what I'm going to do is begin with an attack. I always want to give your opponent a chance to make a mistake, and in this case, it might be a mistake to try to assign a block. You gotta be wary of them blocking and then pumping for, kind of a clunky removal spell, basically, but we've got answers to that if they do so. So, sure enough, the opponent will decline the block, and the replay client will slow right down. See if hitting play will help us out here. It's a little early in the league for this replay client. Let's get it together. All right, here we go. So, no blocks from the opponent. So what we're going to do here is actually take care of both of their threats before they have a chance to untap and get Spell Pierce active. So we're going to bolt the Hierarch, and we're going to trophy the Inkmoth Nexus. I really like doing it this way. Generally, you want to cast removal spells most of the time on your own turn against Infect anyway. So we might as well do it right here, right now. Playing around Spell Pierce, forcing them to find another threat, and still having a Fatal Push in case they do. We draw Thoughtseize. Kind of just wanted the 4th land for Bloodbraid, but that's honestly pretty fine draw. It's not the very best time for it, because we kind of know they don't have another threat in hand. They might be fine letting us Thoughtseize them, but we're going to do it anyway. And the opponent's going to cast a Spell Pierce. Now, I am very happy to just pay for the Spell Pierce. The only other thing we were doing this turn is growing the Scooz anyway, so we'll pay for the Spell Pierce, try to force it through. They've got another Pierce. Well, you know what? That's a 2-for-1. That's totally fine with us. It means our Fatal Push is definitely going to resolve if we ever need to cast it. Scooz will connect for 2 back to the opponent, and they have found a Glistener Elf, so this is what I mean about them being able to continue finding threats. But we continue finding discard off the top, so that's actually pretty good as well. We'll Inquisition to start things off, try to clear the way. We see opponent's got a Vines of Vastwood, so that's a good way to protect the Glistener Elf. Kind of got to take that, and then definitely want to just push the Elf. Once again, main phasing our removal. We're also going to go ahead and grow the Ooze, finally get a chance to do so, and crack in for 3. So the opponent is cracking the Waterlogged Grove. They're going to deploy a Windswept Heath, and they're going to pass. We finally hit that 4th land, so it is Bloodbraid time. We'll shock in because the life total is not completely irrelevant, but this is not going to be a matchup where they realistically beat you down with Dryad Arbors and Noble Hierarchs and pump spells, right? So we'll just make our mana good here, get the 2nd red and the 3rd green, and we find a Kolagan's Command. Well, that's kind of nice, any form of discard is welcome. So we get to shock them. We get to get a Might of Old Krosa out of their hand, so they have Groundswell and 1 Unknown. Now, again, remember, they do have Dryad Arbor there as a potentiality, and maybe a pump spell, but I'm still going to attack into it anyway. If we really wanted to play around this, we could simply pass, and then next turn attack with only Scavenging Ooze, and have the ability to make it a 6/6. The reason I don't really care to do that is because if the opponent is priced into using some pump spells here, that just makes it so much less likely that they're ever going to actually get there. So we're forcing them to adopt the control role, and they will cast a Groundswell. And their Dryad Arbor gets to eat our Scavenging Ooze, which is pretty amusing. But, again, they're down to 3 life. They're in bolt range now. They're in the range of another Bloodbraid Elf off the top, and they were totally empty-handed till their draw step. We draw Tarmogoyf, sure. So, obviously, that's going to be a really nice one here. And once again, same principle applies. We're going to attack with a Bloodbraid Elf. Even if they just pump with Pendelhaven and trade off, I think this is fine for us. They probably don't have an answer to Tarmogoyf main deck. So they happen to have the pump and another pump spell in hand. So once again, the Dryad Arbor gets to eat our creature. It's definitely awkward, but we're still trading away resources with the Infect deck, which is all we really need to do. Those are still 1-for-1 trades, and since we're on the front foot, I think those are totally fine. Again, you could argue that I'm supposed to play a little bit more cautiously with my attackers, but given our draws, I don't really think so, but feel free to let me know if you disagree. Opponent finds a Noble Hierarch off the top, and we find a Swamp, so that's not very good, but Tarmogoyf is going to swing out, force a jump block back to the opponent. We're going to sandbag that Swamp. Opponent finds a Waterlogged Grove, but makes the decision to sandbag it as well. And here is why it was good for us to sandbag the Swamp. Remember, we are on a Tireless Tracker in this deck. Unlike a lot of Jund builds, we do have that incentive to hold lands a little bit more than usual. And with withholding information, I believe that the opponent believed we drew a discard spell. So they are in turn holding up their Waterlogged Grove instead of cracking it immediately in order to play around a potential discard from our side, but that actually works to our advantage, right? It means they just aren't going to play a threat this turn if they find one. So, anyway, back to us, and we draw a Lightning Bolt, so that's pretty good. And it took me a second. I was like, hey, we'll point it at the board, we'll attack with a Goyf. I'm just not used to playing Jund, I'm just not used to the closing power. Obviously, we go to the dome with Lightning Bolt. Boom, got him. So, we had a really nice curve out considering the matchup. We said at the beginning we've got a lot of good early interaction. We hope they're playing to the board. We hope they're playing things that die to push and bolt and trophy, and they sure are. So not only that, but we did draw a pretty decent amount of threats, considering that was the one thing we really lacked, right? We just had a Mere Scooz as a threat. Didn't really have the luxury of growing it much early on, but we found the Bloodbraid, we found the Tarmogoyf. Those were enough to close out the game, so that was kind of a textbook Jund display against Infect. We line up really well against combo decks in general and against small creature decks, and Infect is kind of both. So, feels good, my friends. Let's take a look at the sideboard. Okay, so against Infect, we have a lot of good things to do. Plague Engineer is absolutely amazing. Naming Human hits a lot of stuff, is very, very effective a lot of time. Also, naming Elf against Glistener Elf is nice. You can also name Blink Moth, and they cannot even animate their creature lands without losing them. So, Plague Engineer, whatever you need him to be, also a proactive clock, absolutely all-star in the matchup. Liliana the Last Hope is also repeated removal, just machine guns down those X1s, and I do like Fulminator Mage here as well. Infect is a very mana-hungry deck with a lot of their sequencing. That's very, very clear. And so Fulminator can kill the creature lands while also setting them back on mana. And at worst is a Grey Ogre as well, which, as we all know, is definitely more valid than it sounds on paper in certain situations. Other cards that are worth considering, depending on the context of your 75, maybe Ghost Quarter, just for the same reason we like Fulminator Mage, but I don't like Ghost Quarter as much because it sets us back on mana, doesn't set them back on mana. Yes, it's an answer to the creature lands, but, you know, I am no Jund expert, so if you have a different experience or a different theory behind this, let me know, but I don't think Ghost Quarter should be in here. Ditto Kalitas, yes, it's a creature-based matchup, yes, he will accrue value if you untap with him, but we just don't need what he brings to the table that much. Lifelink, not a lifelink matchup. Making the zombie tokens is fine, but he's very clunky. So these are more if you just don't have as many of these cards in your 75 to bring in. Maybe some of these can come in, but these 6 for sure. And in terms of what comes out, it would probably be something like this. So I think all 5 of these cards are pretty clear cuts. We can move down on some number of Bloodbraid. Cutting at least 2 seems fine. Ditto Skoos. Cutting 2 seems fine as well. We saw how clunky it can be. We often need our mana to interact most or all of our mana every single turn, so you might not have the luxury so much of growing it. And Tireless Tracker is just too slow for the matchup, so I like all 5 of these cuts, which means we need to make one more cut. And this is where perhaps those who are more experienced with Jund could make the final decision. I can see an argument for any of these. I think leaving in 2 Bloodbraid is fine, but cutting down to 1 is fine. I think leaving in exactly 1 Skoos is fine, but maybe we're supposed to cut all 3. And maybe Maelstrom Pulse is just too slow and too bad as removal, you know, sorcery, speed, 3 mana, etc. But all things considered, it should be one of these cards that makes way. Let's say for the sake of argument, we just go without the Skooses. So we have the catch-up power of Bloodbraid Elf, we have all the removal we can possibly muster, and everything else in our deck is completely awesome against Infect. So our 60 would look like that. Let's take a look at Game 2. Game 2 on the draw against Infect, and we love our hand. We've got Bolt, we've got Inquisition, we've got Trophy, and if we ever hit the 3rd land, the Plague Man is going to hit the field, and the opponent will be sorry. So, opponent will mulligan down to 6 and play a turn 1 Dryad Arbor. So, I think that's a pretty clear signal that we should be bolting that. It's possible that they're flooded with lands and with threats, and that this is, you know, bait basically, but given how well we line up against other subsequent threats, I'm very happy to take care of something that's a threat in its own right and to basically time walk them while we're at it. So don't mind if I do. Opponent does indeed have the 2nd land and the 2nd threat. Not entirely unexpected. So we did draw another Assassin's Trophy. So part of me would want to just say, let's just trophy the Infect threat while they're tapped out, continue answering the threats as they hit the field. However, if we do ever draw a 3rd land, we can more cleanly answer that with a Plague Engineer or with a Liliana the Last Hope Edict, depending on whatever looks better. So we also don't want necessarily to ramp them just yet, considering we just spent a bolt on Dryad Arbor. Maybe they don't have a 2nd land after maybe they don't have a 3rd land after we've destroyed their 1st one, right? So all of that, plus the fact that Inquisition is just a great play early against Infect anyway, well, I decided to go with the Inquisition. So what is their hand? Well, they have no shortage of threats. They have 2 more threats in hand, 2 Blighted Agents, and a Spellskite to protect them from spot removal. They also have a Might of Old Krosa. So I think the clear take is either Might of Old Krosa or Spellskite. But again, Spellskite does nothing against the Plague Engineer, so we have to assume we're going to hit the 3rd land at some point. We'll just take away the pump spell. If nothing else, this guarantees that we will extend the game. And now the opponent needs to find a 2nd land in order to do much, and they need to find pump spells. So instead of a 2nd land, they find a Noble Hierarch, and that's actually a very good draw, because that allows them to attack us a little bit more aggressively with that Exalted Trigger while serving as a 2nd land. So we untap, we're hoping for the 3rd land, so we don't fetch because we don't want to thin out. Instead of the 3rd land, we do just draw Fatal Push. Now, under other circumstances, if we had other hate cards in our hand besides these Plague Engineers, we would actually probably want to push the Noble Hierarch to continue slowing down their mana. But note that Noble Hierarch is a human, as is Blighted Agent, so we're very happy to push the odd man out. We're going to push the other type, which is Elf Warrior. And once again, just kind of banking on that 3rd land. We've missed it 3 turns in a row now, so that feels pretty bad. Starting to get just a tad nervous about that, but The opponent draws their second land, so they are drawing very well. We hope that they play a Blighted Agent there, but instead they decide to opt for the longer game, the safety of Spellskite. So, Noble Hierarch's going to get in, back to us, and we do hit the third land, so that's a beautiful thing. We'll play out that third land, we'll go fetch, we've got green now as well. And this is an interesting decision point in its own right. Lots of interesting decisions here. We could play Liliana the Veil, we could Edict the opponent, but that is potentially the highest value play over the course of a couple turns. The problem is I don't even necessarily want to start ticking up anytime soon, right? Like, I'm very happy to just continue attacking their board to play the Plague Engineer. Now, not only do they need to keep finding pump spells, they need to find an answer to this Plague Man. Their hand is totally locked out. So, in other words, we don't need the Liliana hand attack and the Plague Man locking out their plays. We kind of need one or the other. This is the more proactive thing to do. That's how I see it anyway. So, it's back to the opponent. They don't make any plays, and it's back to us. We draw Tarmogoyf. Yet another really interesting decision point. So, first things first, we're going to attack with the Plague Man. See what happens. Of course, I doubt they're going to block, but you never know. So, no blocks. Come on, replay. Come on, we can do it. All right, there we go. So, speaking of being proactive, I did decide to just run out the Tarmogoyf. It is not as proactive as running out the Liliana. It's not as mana efficient as running out the Liliana, but it's more proactive. Again, don't really feel the need to Edict the Spellskite quite yet with how Plague Man kind of bypasses it, routes right around it, and it's back over to the opponent, and they're going to take a draw step. They're just going to scoop it up. So, obviously a few debatable lines there, but I don't think any of them were wrong. I think you could just kind of have navigated a couple different ways. Probably would have got there more or less no matter what we did with some of the decisions where it's basically Liliana or Plague Man. It's Liliana or Tarmogoyf. At that point, either one of those is good. The important thing is to navigate the early turns correctly, and then in a situation like this, our card quality really shines through. Tarmogoyf is going to end the game in a real hurry, giving them no chance to eventually draw out of all of this hate. And guys, what more can you say? People who have been watching this channel do know that I have been very high on the Plague Man from day one, and I just keep liking him more and more. The more I play it, I love it in Rock, I love it in Jund. You gotta love this guy. Absolute all-star of the archetype as far as I'm concerned. So, a nice, comprehensive 2-0 victory over the opponent with some really nice draws, to be honest, on our end both games. So, we take down Infect, we start off the league on the right foot. Let's go to round 2. And here we are, winning the die roll yet again with kind of a funny-looking hand. It's got triple Wrenn and 6, but we've got a fetch land and we've got Barrenmoor. So we've got, unless they're main decking Grave Hate, we've got a guaranteed value loop. We've got the Lightning Bolt for early interaction. We've got a nice 2-for-1 with Kawagan's Command. It's a weird-looking hand, especially because Barrenmoor cannot help cast Wrenn and 6, but I think it is a keep. We have to hope we have another land, another untapped land in the top couple cards to make our curve out perfect, right? But what we want to do here is run out Bloodstained Mire. This gives us the most options. If we absolutely need to Lightning Bolt something here on turn 1, we can do it. Or we can fetch Shock on the end step, cycle Barrenmoor. We're going to see what happens. The opponent's on humans, unclaimed territory, naming human, running out the Noble Hierarch. So obviously this is a primary Lightning Bolt target, but we would prefer to actually take the much more value-oriented play of pinging it with Wrenn and 6. So instead of bolting, we're going to cycle Barrenmoor, trying to find a green land, and look at that, green land right off the top. And then we've got a Blackcleave Cliffs as well, so we are curving out, we're making our land drops. Gotta love it. And it's Wrenn and 6 time, we're going to ping the Noble Hierarch, and what an amazing value-oriented play that is. You just can't overstate how powerful that is. Opponent runs out a Champion of the Parish, followed by another Champion of the Parish. Clearly a desperation move. They, of course, don't want to expose any X1s at all to Wrenn and 6, but this is clearly the only way they can start establishing some pressure. So, needless to say, this is great for us. We draw Bloodbraid Elf. Pretty nice. We could get cute, we could cycle, we could tick up the Wrenn and 6, buy back the Barrenmoor, cycle it, then maybe play another Wrenn and 6. I'm still getting a little bit too more inclined, I'm still a little bit inclined to be more value-oriented than that. We don't want to throw away a Renin 6 just because we have multiple copies of it. The opponent might commit resources to getting rid of the one that's on the field. So instead, we're going to ping the champion, and then we're going to K-command the other champion before it can grow. And I also like main phasing it because they have not had their draw step yet, so they have one fewer card to choose from as far as the non-targeted discard of K-Command goes. But obviously, we've got some real nice value so far. The opponent has pitched a Kitesail Freebooter, and now they are in the 3-drop range, and it's Mantis Rider time. So, yeah, Mantis Rider definitely one of their better cards in general against us, and as predicted, the Mantis Rider feels obligated to take care of that Renin 6. And we draw our 4th land, so we're just curving out like champions, my friends. We can play Bloodbraid Elf now, but I don't think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to just make sure we bolt that Mantis Rider. Then we're going to get the other Renin 6 going, take up buying back the Barren Moor, run out the Verdant Catacombs, and just like on turn 1, there's no need to main phase this. Like, we're bluffing this way, we're concealing information this way, we're concealing our play. So we're going to plan to grab a Swamp on the end step and cycle, but for now we just say go. Opponent's got Waterlogged Grove, so they've got 2 Canopy lands on the field. They're playing a Thalia, they're playing a Kitesail Freebooter. We're going to let Freebooter resolve before cycling, of course, because they take that extra Renin 6, so that's not that big a deal. And the opponent is totally empty-handed. We're extremely far ahead. So when their plays have been done, we cycle the Barren Moor, we find a Maelstrom Pulse, we find a Raging Ravine. Again, the value is off the charts. We take the free Renin 6 kill on Thalia, and then we could push the Freebooter. That plays better around other Freebooters. Right? It also plays better around other, like a Phantasmal Image copying Freebooter. And that's all well and good, but we also have a lot of really good hits off of Bloodbraid Elf, so I did decide to just run out the Bloodbraid Elf. Hey, Tarmogoyf, that's a pretty good hit if you ask me. We throw out the Raging Ravine, we attack with a Bloodbraid Elf, and all of a sudden, we're threatening lethal in about 2 hits with this board. Back to the opponent, they're going to crack a Canopy. And then they're going to play Phantasmal Image, naming Tarmogoyf, and then they're going to scoop, because even that play, which in another world would be a good way to stabilize against our ground forces, it's just going to die to the Renin 6 ping. So guys, what more can you say? Renin 6 absolutely dumpstering humans this game. Pinging the Noble Hierarch, pinging the Champion of the Parish, and cycling Barren Moor, buying back a cycled Barren Moor, all with the first Renin 6, and gaining us 3 life when the Mantis Rider attacked it. Then, of course, we just had another Renin 6 where that came from, got to kill the Thalia, and now it will kill an opposing Tarmogoyf just by pinging it. So, absolutely awesome. What more can you say? We love the value-oriented starts like that, and that's exactly what we got here. So, good times, my friends, and let's take a quick look at the sideboard. So against 5-color humans, just like against Infect, we've got the Plague Men and the Last Hope coming in, and this time Kalitas will join them. Kalitas is a army in a can against decks that, Ether Vial decks like humans. Kalitas is absolutely awesome. Stabilizing Force single-handedly wins you the game if you untap with them, and you have got some interaction to back it up. So these 5 cards can definitely come in. In terms of what comes out, I think these 4 cuts are clear. I think we can at least cut 1 Liliana pretty clearly. Once again, Tireless Tracker is kind of the slowest and least necessary of our threats, and Thoughtseize is a pretty bad card against humans, so those come out. And then the final cut, I would need to play more matches with Jund to be fully confident with it. I think it should be either Bloodbraid Elf number 4 or Liliana number 3 that comes out. And if I had to twist my arm and make me give you a definitive answer right now, I would say because we're on the draw, Liliana the Veil can go, and we'll just play with a full 4 Bloodbraid Elf to play catch-up. And if they take us to Game 3, we're going to be on the play, we'll bring back a 3rd Liliana and trim away a Bloodbraid. But either way, for the game you're about to see, we were set up just like this. And here we are on the draw with a bit of a sketchy hand, but it's better than it looks, simply because of the presence of Barren Moor representing a redraw. So I did decide to give it a keep. Look, if we're on a Scavenging Ooze, oriented progression, we do want as many lands as possible. We've got that, right? So it's definitely a bit of an awkward one, definitely a borderline keep, but I did decide to keep it. Not a huge fan of taking mulligans against the humans deck. It is a resource-oriented matchup, arguably above anything else. So back to us. Hey, we draw another lightning bolt, so definitely a great any cheap interaction off the top is right where we want to be. So pretty freely bolting the Noble Hierarch. Now, it's actually interesting. We could have maybe fetched and shot to get a Blood Crypt to start cycling Baron more earlier, but I said, look, next turn we're probably either going to have to bolt something again, or we're going to want to play the Scoos. If we're going to bolt something again, we can cycle off Bloodstained Mire. If we're going to play the Scoos, then we'll be happier that we played the Painless Land this turn. So my sequencing with the lands is still on the newer side. You know, again, don't have the most Jund reps under my belt, but that was my thinking anyway, and we draw the Plague Man. So a couple good draws for us for sure. What does that make us want to do? Well, Plague Engineer is going to come down and kill Thalia next turn. Next time it's our turn. She's not going to be able to tax this guy, right? So either he's going to kill Thalia, or if they manage to buff Thalia with like a Lieutenant or a Mayor of Aberbrook, it's going to kill that Lord. So whatever they do, the Plague Man is guaranteed to get a kill next turn as far as I can tell. So therefore, we're not going to bolt her. We're not going to hold up bolt. We're just going to take this chance to get our Scoos down. And unfortunately, we do have to fetch and shock, but that is all right. So the opponent's got Champion of the Parish into Thalia's Lieutenant. So that's actually definitely a problem for us. We would have been fine with like Mantis Rider that turn, or just Thalia's Lieutenant in Ether Vial or something, or Noble Hierarch, even better. But this is tough, because now we have two things that outsize the Plague Man, and one of them is attacking us for 3. So we definitely didn't want the opponent to have that aggro-oriented of a turn, but they did. So they're going nice and tall, which is where they want to be. We draw another land, which is not great, but sticking to plan A, it's the Plague Man time. We're going to get a clean kill while we can. We're going to debuff the other things, and we're just going to pass. Very awkward. Here's, again, the Jund mana base coming back to haunt us. We only have one green source for our Scoos, and we've taken some significant damage from our lands as well. So, big difference. Very noticeable as a rock main. But we are benefiting from the presence of Lightning Bolt, and we'll see if it's enough. So, opponent's got Reflector Mage, so opponent's curving out really well. They're going to bounce the Plague Man, and at this point we're just chumping with Scoos if we decide to. So I didn't. I said, let's just pass. We draw another Lightning Bolt. Very good draw, but again, the Jund mana base is so awkward here. Maybe I've been fetching incorrectly, but I really don't think so. I think we've kind of done what we've had to do. So I'm pretty desperate to find like a Tarmogoyf or something to clog up the ground, so I do main phase cycle the Baron more. And unfortunately we find Inquisition. It'd be a fine card under other circumstances, but right now we cannot afford it. Instead, we have to take yet more pain, shocking in the Stomping Ground, and we've got to pass. So it's back to the opponent. We are fully on the ropes. We're dead to a lot of things, but we're bluffing a lot of things as well, and we might have a trick or two up our sleeve. So let's see what the opponent's got. It's Militia Bugler. Great card against us, but honestly not that scary at this exact moment, simply because it doesn't have haste and it doesn't interact with our board at all, right? So Noble Hierarch is the find off of Bugler, and Champion will grow, which is obviously an issue, and then they're going to go ahead and play out that Noble. That's interesting because they know we have Plague Man in hand because they just bounced it, but, you know, I guess they're just trying to grow the Champion as large as possible. So, opponent, I do remember the opponent hesitating over these attacks for a little while, but eventually they decide to send in the entire board. So how can we best compete with this? Well, we definitely have to bolt Thalia there. Got to do that first if we're going to do it at all, because she's going to tax us. And then, unfortunately, we've got to just bolt the Reflector Mage, which feels bad, and chump block with our Scoos, which feels even worse. So, I don't think we had any better lines. We definitely had to throw away some stuff there for little value, but that's where we're at. And we draw Blackcleave Cliffs, not very good. So we're going to Inquisition, and we see Meddling Mage. Alright, at least our Inquisition hits. And then all we can do is put our faith in the Plague Man. Plague Man comes back down, kills the Noble Hierarch. We run out the Blackcleave Cliffs, and really hope the opponent breaks. They crack a Horizon Canopy, they play Cavern of Souls, and here I am just fearing the absolute worst. And it's an Auric Champion is all they have, and the Auric Champion dies to Plague Engineer, so opponent really not respecting the Plague Man here, running out a couple of weenies into certain death. And, you know, admittedly, those do grow the Champion of the Parish, but we're priced into trading with the Champion no matter what happens here, so I think that was just a mistake from the opponent. And of course we do trade off, we have no choice, so it's a Militia Bugler against the top of our deck, and we top deck another Plague Man, so he doesn't quite kill the Militia Bugler, but he will certainly hold him off. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. We'll sandbag that land just to conceal information here. I think with our life total so low, we're unlikely to be able to fetch here at any point in this game, and we would rather therefore bluff. Even though we don't have Tracker or Brutality or any way to make this fetch land actually good. So opponent will crack another Canopy, they will look for action, and they find Meddling Mage, naming Liliana the Veil. I think that's probably the correct name here at this point in the game. And we draw Swamp, so, oh, it's excruciating. It's excruciating. Now we'll run out of fetch land, but again, probably not going to use it. Back to the opponent, we're dead to so much, but they don't have anything, it seems, and it's going to be back to us, giving us a window in the matchup, and we draw Ren and 6. Okay, so, what do we do with Ren and 6? What do? We have a free kill on Meddling Mage, or we can start buying back the Barrenmoor and look for more action. Think about what you would do here, my friends. It's honestly a toss-up, it's honestly a bit of a judgment call, but even if we kill the Meddling Mage, we are so dead to so many things off the top that I do think it's correct to buy back the Moor. And we're going to immediately cycle it looking for action, and we find some. We find the Goyf. It's time for the Goyf. We're going to play it, and we're just going to hold back that Swamp, even though we have some mana sinks, some mana, some guaranteed mana expenditure going on. I don't think we need to use the Swamp quite yet. Back to the opponent, once more they have nothing. Once more they have absolutely nothing, and we draw Kolagin's Command. So that's a great one, but I'm not satisfied. I'm not ready to start pinging the board yet. We're going to keep cycling the Barrenmoor, looking for more action. We find a Raging Ravine. That's actually pretty interesting, but we're going to pass holding up Kolagin's Command here. Back over to the opponent, and what do they have here? Well, when you see those Jeskai colors get tapped, you know what it is. You know it is the Mantis Rider. So Mantis Rider is going to attack us, and we're going to go ahead and fire off the Kolagin's Command. Okay. Replay shows us not firing off the Kolagin's Command. You gotta love the replay here. I'm pretty sure I did. Pretty sure that was key to me winning this game, is firing off the Kolagin's Command. But anyway, alright, it shows us end-stepping it. Sure, but yeah, that's what we do. We, 2-for-1 them, Mantis Rider, yeah, discard Champion of the Parish, that's what's happening. Okay, anyway, better late than never, I guess. We draw Inquisition of Kozilek. Replay is a little bit bizarre, but I guess technically, even if that is what happened, we'd be alive at 1, right? And Auric Champion is the take, so note, Champion of the Parish, Auric Champion, both were locked in hand by the Plague Engineer, on top of the fact that the Plague Man has already, the first one killed Thalia's lieutenant, they threw a Noble Hierarch out when they knew he was coming back, and then they threw an Auric Champion into it. So Plague Engineers have killed, straight up killed, or stranded in hand to lose to discard 5 humans. Plus, Plague Man has held off the weenie attacks that would have definitely finished us off by now. So I'm just trying to really impress upon all of you the sheer power and utility of this card. But in any case, Ren and 6 is buying back. Barrenmoor is going to find us a Scavenging Ooze, and that's really what we needed, my friends. The life total stabilizer. So we attack with the Goyf, We're going to end the game next turn if they don't have anything good here, and they don't, or nothing good enough to beat this board, so it's going to be a scoop. Yeah, again, I think from memory, I think I did Kolagin's Command the Mantis Rider during attacks. There's no reason not to, but I guess even if it did go this way, we stabilize at 1, then we gain our life back with the Skoos if we need to. But either way, everything went as I remembered it. The replay can be a little bit funny sometimes, but that was another very, very satisfying win against the Humans deck. Very similar to Infect in that they're a small creature deck, their stuff is not recursive. When they die, they stay dead. And that means that cards like Lightning Bolt, cards like Plague Engineer, cards like Renin 6 are absolutely at a premium. Those who are familiar with my gameplay know, in these value-oriented matchups, sometimes a really clean 2-for-1 is the difference. Like, you trade 1-for-1 as efficiently as possible, you find your window for an ideal 2-for-1, and the game just kind of stays in your favor from there. I can't even count how many 2-for-1s we had here. The only problem, of course, was that we took so much pain from our lands and they had such an aggressive curve out that they still almost just barely aggroed us out. But in any case, the Plague Man killing a bunch of stuff, debuffing the rest of it, we would actually have been in deep trouble against the Mantis Rider if Plague Man did not debuff it into Kolagin's command range. So, round of applause for the Plague Engineer, my friends. We absolutely rode him to victory here, but that was a great game. That was well played to the opponent, and we advance to 2-0 in the league, taking down Humans, which is one of my favorite matchups to play on green-black decks. It's just good, clean Magic. So, good times, and we'll see you for round 3. Okay, my friends, so here we are in round 3, and, we've got the Renin 6, we've got the Liliana, and we've got the lands to make them good, plus a Goyf to protect them. We would, in theory, want more direct interaction, but this is a keep in a blind game 1, and the opponent's going to go turn 1, Inspiring Vantage Goblin Guide. So, good old-fashioned burn. Going to be a stern test for the deck, because, of course, one of the major reasons to play Rock over Jund is a better burn matchup. Decks like Burn, where your every life point matters. Decks like Tron, where Fields of Ruin matter. These are where Jund does tend to struggle relative to straight-up Golgari. So we'll see how it goes, but we do have an Inquisition of Kozilek right off the top. We wanted more direct interaction, and now we've got it. So the opponent has Bolt, Swifty, Rift Bolt, and this is actually kind of an interesting decision, because there are 3 different distinct types here, and they're all pretty good, right? They're all pretty good, but I did decide to just take the Lightning Bolt. This means, we're, no matter what we take there, basically, unless we maybe took the Rift Bolt, we're safe from getting Goyf killed by an instant, whether it be Searing Blaze would be the worst, of course, but others as well. The opponent goes Sunbaked Canyon, Swifty, Rift Bolt, Suspended. So, unfortunately, they do have the creatures coming at us, but Goblin Guide is so good as to flip a land. So, that is nice value, but we're continuing to draw more lands. It's all very painful at this stage of the game, but as planned, the Tarmogoyf is going to hit the field, hopefully acting as something of a brick wall here. So, it's back to the opponent. But, I feel pretty far behind at this stage of the game. Maybe I'm just, again, not used to having to manage my life total so carefully as I do here with Jund, but there you have it. So, opponent's going to crack a Sunbaked Canyon looking for more action, and then they're going to attack. So, this is a really interesting spot, and I think I might have made the wrong decision. But here's my logic. So, I'm thinking, okay, no matter what the opponent has in their hand, they're going to attack us here, right? Like, the longer they let their creature sit around doing nothing, the likelier we are to find removal. So, just because they're attacking into a Goyf does not necessarily mean that they have ways to make the attack perfect. So, if I was afraid of them having again, the perfect stuff, we would just take the guaranteed block on the Goblin Guide and take the guaranteed kill. And maybe I still should have, but I was like, okay, I feel pretty far behind at this point. I'm going to assign the block on the Monastery Swift Spear, and because they did crack the Sunbaked Canyon main phase aggressively, I think it's at least possible that they don't actually have anything else to do, no other prowess. So this is going to save us the most damage right now, and it's got the highest ceiling. And with us being pretty far behind, that's what I did decide to do. However, the opponent does have a Lightning Bolt, so we're pretty punished for that. We don't get our kill on Goblin Guide that we would otherwise have gotten. Pretty rough, but again, maybe that's just the wrong play. Goblin Guide flips yet another land, which is pretty cool. So, Inquisition of Kozilek or Liliana of the Veil. If we had taken the block on Goblin Guide last turn, we'd be going Liliana Edict. Instead, I do feel priced into the Inquisition here, and we're just max punished again because they have nothing left after that. So, pretty rough stuff, and then on top of that, we have to fetch to play the Renin 6, who doesn't particularly do anything at the moment, so it's all pretty poor, and again, given the fact that they did have a Lightning Bolt as their very last card, it kind of had to be the Bolt. Given the fact that they didn't have anything else in hand, our sequencing has just been maximum punished. And again, maybe it's just wrong. I can accept that. Maybe we were supposed to just block the Goblin Guide, Edict with Liliana, and, I still think we would have been in trouble if the opponent had anything left in hand, but as it happens, they didn't. So, we're getting hit with these creatures. The Goblin Guide gives us yet more lands, but that's all we're finding off the top. So it's all kind of futile. We're flooding pretty horrendously anyway. The opponent hasn't taken a single point of damage yet besides the one Sunbaked Canyon activation. So we'll go through the motions here, and we're going to start racing them. We're going to start pinging with Renin 6. Take that. But anyway, it's back to the opponent, and here comes the Goblin Guide. Not flipping a land this time, but they look like they have a finisher, and it is indeed Lightning Helix. So, look, the opponent finishes us off at 21, and if we had, again, blocked the guide, then edicted, that Helix would have put us, I think, to 2. Then where are we? We've maybe hit a couple times with the Tarmogoyf, but we've still got probably 3 more. We'd have to fade 3 more draw steps of them just not finding burn to finish us off. I don't think we were likely to get there in this particular game one, no matter what we did. This was a hand where this was a situation where opening hand didn't look that great just because a Renin 6 is kind of a lower value card here. But again, if I had sequenced differently, maybe we at least give ourselves a better chance. So chalk it up to being new to Jund, having only played the Burn matchup with this deck once or twice before, and it kind of being a tough matchup game one as far as I can tell on top of that. So we got burned out. Feels bad, my friends. We were steamrolling this league right up until now, but we got burned out. So that'll happen. That's what the deck does. Let's take a look at the side. Okay, so against Boros Burn, once more the Plague Man will enter the fray. Arguably the worst card we're siding in overall, but definitely a fine one, a fine role player. But the All-Stars here, Kalidas Trader of Get, Stabilize, and Force, anything with lifelink is absolutely awesome. Weather the Storm, this is arguably in here for Burn above anything else. Definitely a nice high ceiling, extremely high ceiling card in the matchup. And Fulminator Mage, who is surprisingly useful in various roles, anything from Grey Ogre to Aggressive Stone Rain to, block and then sack, whatever you need him to be. Surprising amount of really grindy games involving Fulminator Mages can go your way, with him playing a crucial role. So all of these cards will come in, and I'm very confident that these 6 cards should be cut. Once more, Tracker too slow. In my previous league, we saw Tracker do a ton of work when it was good, but we're just seeing a lot of really aggressive decks so far, so the Tracker continues to make way. Same thing applies, of course, to Thoughtseize. And Renin 6 is quite a poor card here. The pings don't kill much, if anything, unless in tandem with like another Renin 6 or a Plagueman. Buying back lands for value is all well and good, but when every life point really matters, buying back the fetch lands is of questionable utility. So I'm pretty happy to move mostly away from the Renin 6. And then for the final cut, I'm not sure whether having one Renin 6 is a consistency tool. is better than having the 4th Bloodbraid Elf? I don't exactly know. I would cut one of these 2 cards, but what I did here, I believe, is just straight up cut all Ren and 6s, play with all the Bloodbraid Elves, right? It's just a good proactive play. So, in any case, my friends, that is what we look like post-side against Burn. Let's check out Game 2. And here we are with the classic BGX curve of Inquisition into Goyf into Liliana. The mana could be better here, but otherwise it is a nice keep. And the opponent likes their 7 as well. And that's a really powerful hand we're seeing out of the opponent. That's kind of exactly what they want against us. They have 2 lands and 5 spells. Perfect ratio with 1 creature backed up by 4 burn spells. You couldn't ask for much more than that. We're going to take the least redundant piece of their hand, which is the Swifty. Also represents the most damage over time. Yes, we can Edict it, but not soon enough, right? So we'll take the Swifty. Opponent will fetch and play or suspend rather, a Rift Bolt. Back to us, we draw a Forest. We don't really want to see more lands, but at least that's a painless one that lets us cast Goyf, so it's not that bad. Opponent will untap, hit us with a Rift Bolt, shock in a Sacred Foundry, then simply pass the turn. They've got Boros Charm at the ready. We draw Plague Engineer. Yeah, that's a pretty decent draw. We're not disappointed to see any action really, but Liliana is the play here. Once more, we feel priced into making the mana as painless as possible, so we're very light on green sources for Skoos if we ever find that. I think that's something we just kind of have to accept. So we're going to tick up, we're going to pitch the Tomb, and Verdant Catacombs is going to be able to get us the red mana that we need, hopefully as painlessly as possible, right? So opponent's going to pitch another Swifty, and then we're going to come across with the Goyf. And on the end step, they're going to hit us with the Boros Charm. We are down to 12. Back to them, no 3rd land, they're just going to pass back to us. We draw Raging Ravine. That's actually a decent draw. It lets us tick up pretty freely, pitch this Verdant Catacombs. We're going to have a painless red source. Even if we can't activate it quite yet, it's definitely not the worst. And they pitch an Eidolon of the Great Revel, which actually grows the Goyf a lot, makes it a 5/6. Pretty nice. Gotta love that. And we smash him in the face with a good old Tarmogoyf. Next up, it is Plague Man time, and here it's really context dependent, in my opinion, whether you want to name Goblin or Human. Opponent will Helix us in response, sure. We have seen 2 Swift Spears already, and we have not seen any Goblin Guides. So we're going to go ahead and name Goblin. I think that's just a little more statistically likely to be good at this point, but either way, you just want to shrink whatever's on the board or whatever you think you're most likely to see. Opponent will suspend another Rift Bolt and pass back to us. The fact that they haven't been curving out with their lands makes our Liliana very effective here, so you gotta love that. And we find another Plague Man. Again, not the best card in the matchup, but we're pretty happy to have anything proactive to do. At this point, once you commit to naming one type, I think you should commit to naming that type again, so you're just totally locking out plays. So we'll name Goblin again. We'll take Lily up again, getting a Searing Blaze out of the opponent's hand. And we're going to try to come across for 7 here. And the opponent's last card is a Path to Exile. So that's annoying, taking care of our Goyf, but it does give us the 2nd red source and the 5th overall source, so we can activate Rage and Ravine, which is pretty cool. We have a Liliana about to ult. The opponent's got a Rift Bolt coming off suspend. We're at 9. They're going to bolt us to the face. We're going down to 6. This is a little bit sketchy. It's a little bit scary. We do not have lethal on board, and the opponent can have bolt in hand and then a bolt off the top. We're dead. So, definitely interesting. And we draw Kalidas, Trader of Get. So, another very, very interesting one here. So, what do we do? Well, since we don't have lethal anyway, I don't think we're going to fire up the Rage and Ravine. I think we're just going to play the Kalidas out this turn. Seems better to me, better against haste threats off the top, even though if those aren't sufficient to kill us anyway. I think it's just the best play overall. Our Plague Men will connect. Then we're going to ult them. And the reason we're going to ult them is because now they're of course going to keep the Sacred Foundry pile, but this forces them to have Burn Spell in hand right now, and a 1-mana Burn Spell next turn. Like if they draw Boros Charm or Lightning Helix or Skullcrack, or Eidolon of the Great Revel, they are dead. Or Path to Exile, lots of other things, but we just narrow the window of opportunity for them. Yes, technically ticking Liliana up was much better value there. We play the Kalitas first, then we tick the Lily up. Value doesn't matter at this point, we're just trying not to die to the top of their deck. And their last card in hand was Lightning Bolt, so it's really, really sketchy. Untap, draw a step, cross our fingers, the opponent scoops it up. More often than we're comfortable with, it comes down to that very top deck. Does the opponent top deck a burn spell, or do they not? In this case, they don't, or maybe, just maybe, they top deck a 2-mana 1 that they can't cast because we Liliana ulted them. So Liliana, star of the show there, absolutely great. She got a bunch of gas out of their hand, and then maybe she saved us right there at the end. We'll never know because the opponent didn't hit the reveal hand button, right? But in any case, that was a really close game. That was a nail-biter, and it was that close on the play. So, gonna be a little bit tougher on the draw on average, but we'll see if we can get there. Here it is. It's game 3 on the draw. Our hand is pretty good. Once again, the mana is just awkward, at least to me. Maybe this is just par for the course for Jund. I'm just spoiled by the clean, painless mana of the rock, right? But I'm like, oh, the spells are awesome. Ooh, the mana's kind of bad. But in any case, it's a definite keep. The opponents kept 7 all games. We do like to see burn mulligan. They don't mulligan that well against us, but it hasn't happened for us. The opponent's got the turn 1 creature, which we wanted to fade, and it's a Goblin Guide, and the Goblin Guide doesn't even do us the courtesy of hitting a land. How rude. Instead, it was Kolagan's Command. So we got 2 options here. We could commit to fetching and shocking and bolting the Goblin Guide. I think on average it's better to just go Swamp Inquisition. Maybe between the guide or just our natural draw step we'll hit a more painless land next turn anyway. But in any case, we will Inquisition. We see another Goblin Guide, a Swifty, a Lava Spike, and a Searing Blaze. So this creature heavy start is a little bit scary for sure, given the fact that we're on the draw and that our mana is tough. We do have the means to deal with it, but we're going to take a lot of damage before we do so, one way or another. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Swift Spear. I think Goblin Guide is the one that we're more guaranteed to kill with our Lightning Bolts, and we are hoping, of course, for the Goblin Guide value, showing us maybe some painless lands here. So come on, Goblin Guide. Do what you've been hired to do. Show us new lands. Show us new territories we've never before dreamed of. We're going to get hit with a Lava Spike, and the opponent passes. The opponent does not attack. So, I don't know whether the opponent consciously made that decision to not try to ramp us, because maybe they said, hey, they're a Jund deck, they play Swamp turn 1, clearly they're mana screwed, we're not going to give them any more mana. I doubt it. Maybe they misclicked, but if they did consciously decide to do that, then it was a 200 IQ play to take the Swifty instead of the Goblin Guide. I think more likely it was a misclick, but the opponent didn't say oops in chat or anything. They just kind of passed, and it was back to us. So unfortunately for the opponent, we hit a land anyway, and we're gonna pass back to the opponent, see if they're gonna withhold their attacks yet again. Either way, definitely a nice little reprieve for us there. And the opponent will send in the clowns this time. So we're going to let the triggers resolve before we do any fetching. First one hits, it's a Rage and Ravine. Second one hits, it's a Mountain. There we go, Goblin Guide. That's why they didn't attack last time. They knew they were just going to give us all the value. But we are trying to preserve as much of our life total as possible. So instead of the more mana efficient on both sides of the table Lightning Bolt, we are simply going to trophy them. Yes, giving them another Mountain kind of sucks with that Sunbaked Canyon on the field, but I do believe that to be the correct play. We're down to 12, and the opponent will pass 1 unknown in hand plus Searing Blaze, and we draw Weather the Storm. So, Weather the Storm, obviously a great card in the matchup, so clearly here we just pass, holding up either Kolagan's Command or Weather the Storm plus Lightning Bolt. But we're going to play reactively here, see what the opponent does. They'll crack up Canyon, and they'll find another Canyon. So they're continuing to churn through the deck. Canyon has definitely been a boon to burn as far as how it lines up against us. They're way less likely to just dud out. We let the Goblin Guide trigger Resolve. He finds us yet another land. You've got to love it. And at this point, we could bolt the Goblin Guide and hold up Weather the Storm, but I'm also happy to Kolagin's command here. We'll have hopefully other windows to make Weather the Storm good. We'll take care of the guide here. We'll get a card out of the opponent's hand, and it is a Searing Blaze. So now we also have the freedom to play our creatures and be more confident that they will live. And speaking of creatures, we rip a Tarmogoyf right off the top, so that's pretty cool. We're going to play the Tarmogoyf, and once more, we're holding up Weather the Storm here. Even though we'd have to Fetch and Shock to use it, that's a little bit awkward because we only have one basic forest. But we're holding up Bolt, we're holding up Weather. Seems good to me. And we've got a Tarmogoyf on the field, we're still at 12. Opponent will Helix us on the end step, and then then they're going to pass. We let them, they have priority again, they pass it to us. So I decided to go for it. I decided to roll the dice. We're going to go for the Weather the Storm. If their last card in hand is Skullcrack, that is awful. But if it's not, we get to gain 9 life. So we're casting Weather. See if it resolves. It resolves. 9, 12, 15. Feels pretty good, not going to lie. We're back up to 15. And the opponent has to deal with our Tarmogoyf. They find Eidolon of the Great Revel off the top. 1 card in hand, they're going to pass. All right. Eidolon, not the scariest at this stage of the game. We've already done a lot of spell casting, so that said, we'd still like the free kill on it. So we'll attack, we'll see if they're going to go ahead and sign a block. They do not. So before damage, we're going to bolt the Eidolon because we are going to play the Plague Man main phase anyway. So we might as well bolt it now to get that extra point of damage across with the Goyf. It being an enchantment and all, so that all goes to plan. We smack him for 5. And then it's Plague Man time. The only bad thing about sequencing this way is we cannot hold up another Lightning Bolt. But that's alright, no big deal. We get to deploy our Raging Ravine. And at this point we're going to name Human because we have seen 2 Goblin Guides and only 1 Swifty, so we're more likely to see a Swifty off the top. Plus, I think if it's kind of tied, you want to name Human in case they're on Grim Lavamancer. So we name Human there. Opponent will crack their 3rd Canyon of the game. Or maybe the 2nd one. I'm remembering 3, but I think it's only 2. Anyway, Rift Bolt will be suspended, then it's back to us. We draw Fulminator Mage. It doesn't really do all that much for us here. So, I think the play here is to fire up the Raging Ravine. Once again, this doesn't give us a clean way to hold up Lightning Bolt, but we're at 13 life. That's actually a massive life total, and they don't have white mana. So even 4 burn spells doesn't kill us, and they only have 2 cards in hand. So I think the thing to do is just attack here, just close out the game, and play that one tapped. So Rift Bolt's coming off suspend. Even if they have Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, we're still at 1 life, we still win. So pretty safe to go all in on the attack there. Rift Bolt is going to target Tarmogoyf, which I guess is the opponent's best way to try to stay in the game. They rip, who knows what, but doesn't happen, doesn't get them there, and we squeak one out, my friends. We squeak one out against Boros Burn. Definitely a pretty close one. Definitely really nice to see Weather the Storm. I think we would have won. Well, we can't say we would have won because we don't know what's in their hand. I think them not attacking with those 2 Goblin Guides that one turn was not intentional and did end up being pretty good for us. It could be that Weather the Storm would have pulled our irons out of the fire anyway, but at the end it was a very comfortable win where it otherwise might not have been if they had attacked with those 2 guides. But in any case, that's the hazard of playing online. Maybe they made a mistake clicking, maybe they made the wrong decision, or maybe they thought they made the right decision and it didn't pay off. Who knows? Either way, my friends, we get there. We take down Burn. Tough one, but we did get there. We saw some decent curve outs and proved to be enough. So I hope you're enjoying this Jund Modern League. We are 3-0, right where we want to be. Let's go to round 4. Okay, so here we are, we're back on the play, and it's kind of a similar Planeswalker heavy hand that we kept game 1 against Burn, didn't pan out, but maybe we won't be against Burn this time, and we're also on the play, which does make this better. We'd want to be against, like, blue-white control of this hand. We would absolutely bury a blue-white control player with a hand like this, but, it's lands and spells, it's a lot of good synergistic stuff, so it's a keep. Snow-Covered Forest is not a blue-white control card, Birds of Paradise, you got it. So birds, definitely something that dies to the Ren and 6 ping. So we're going to end step, grab a Blood Crypt. We hit another land, Rage and Ravine, not the very best, but we're going to go ahead and play out the Ren and 6. I'm going to get basic Forest here because snow-covered land into Birds of Paradise, this could easily be Panza, or it could easily be some other kind of a Blood Moon deck. So I'm going to start getting at least a basic or two early on. But in any case, we have the luxury of doing so because we can buy that land back later on maybe. But either way, we're pinging the birds to slow the opponent down. Opponent goes Misty Rainforest Pass. So it's back over to us. Get our Ren and 6 value before we do anything else. And then use it to grab a swamp, once again respecting the possibility of a turn 3 Blood Moon. But then it's Liliana time, and Liliana's going to tick up. And we've got name a more iconic duo, right, than Ren and 6 and Liliana. Only potentially competitive duo with those two is Plague Man and Scavenging Ooze. But either way, this is right where we want to be. Opponent will flash in an Ice Fang Coatl. I'm going to keep calling it Coatl. Somebody in my comment section said, hey bro, it's Coatl. I don't think it is. I looked it up. Pretty sure it's Coatl, as in Quetzalcoatl. But Coatl sounds cooler, so I'm going to keep calling it the Coatl. Your mileage may vary. Sorry if it annoys you, but anyway, the Coatl is flashed in to give them more information before they discard, and then they pitch a snow-covered forest. They play another Coatl main phase. They shock in a Stomping Ground, and then they play Birds of Paradise. And then they don't attack. What's up with people skipping past the attack stage? This time I know they should have attacked. Just, take a loyalty off one of our walkers. But anyway, they missed out on that, and now it's back over to us. We draw Thoughtseize, which is a very interesting draw. I was halfway committed, no matter what I drew, to just jamming the Bloodbraid Elf here this turn. But Thoughtseize actually makes me reconsider, and I gave this a little bit of thought. And at the end of the day, I did think Thoughtseize was the play here. It just lets us play around whatever they could possibly have, gives us the most information with how to sequence. Like, do we tick up or down with Ren? Do we tick up or down with Liliana? Well, Thoughtseize will reveal all, right? So we see the opponent is pretty flooded out. They've got a Fiery Justice in hand, not a card you see every day. We do like to see the old Time Spiral printing, that's cool. 5 damage divided as you choose any number of targets. Opponent gains 5 life. And then they've got the redraw of Astrolabe. So Astrolabe is fine, but we're going to take Fiery Justice. We just don't want to lose our Planeswalkers. They're doing too much for us. And speaking of which, we're just going to go ahead and clear out their entire board. There are other ways we can sequence, but I kind of like this. I like the rest of our hand well enough. I'm pretty happy to just continue clearing out the entire board. So we ping with Ren, we Edict with Lily, and then we play a fresh Lily and Edict with her as well. So we don't have to lose any cards out of our own hand that way, except maybe the second Liliana if you look at it that way. And now we're really putting the pressure on the opponent to have something good off the top. And we see that they have ripped a Felidar Guardian off the top. It's a mere 1/4 at the moment, but that is actually a pretty good find. Here's why. Number 1, it is a body that we need to deal with. Number 2, it lets them untap and have a good value turn of playing the Astrolabe. And number 3, this is clearly now the CopyCat deck. So even though we're very far ahead on resources, now the opponent can just top deck a Saheeli Rai and win. So suddenly the texture of the game is very, very different. What do? Well, we drew another land that's pretty extraneous to our plan, so no matter what we do, we're going to pitch that. Might as well tick up first with Liliana to give them as little info as possible about their own discard. So they get rid of that Flooded Strand, 1 unknown in the opponent's hand, and then before we do anything else, it's Bloodbraid Elf time. And we cascade into a Tarmogoyf, so that's some nice proactive action there. And we'll attack with the Bloodbraid Elf, and here's why. If the opponent's not paying attention, they're going to block with Felidar Guardian. We can finish it off with a W6 ping. But opponent is a little too canny for that. But that's also still good for us because it means we're attacking freely through their 1/4 with our 3-power creature. Feels good. We play the Raging Ravine, we pass, and we just hope we're not going to die to a Saheeli off the top. That's the only thing we're really scared of. They obviously have other plays that are decent, but the Saheeli is the only one that ends the game. They have Wall of Blossoms, which is a green Wall of Omens, New Horizons addition to the format, and it's back to us, and we draw Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt, actually kind of cool here. We're going to Edict with the Liliana, the Veil, and this gives us the reach that we need. So we'll play out the land first, and then we're going to fire up the Raging Ravine, move to attacks, and the opponent just scoops it up there. So obviously, no matter, if they didn't block at all, well, we get to finish them off with the Lightning Bolt, or with the Ren and 6 ping. If they do block, they're not coming back, because, again, the Ren ping or the Bolt, whatever we decide to use, does finish off the Guardian. They're not going to come back from this, especially not game 1. So we take down the 4-color CopyCat deck. We see that this deck does play a lot of cantrips, a lot of value-oriented things, so it's definitely got some game against grindy decks like ours, for sure. I lost to it, actually, on a recent Jund video as well. That was like a ridiculously over-the-top value-oriented version of the deck, though. This seems more like a stock version, so, hey, we curved out really well. We had the Ren and 6 early ping into the Liliana, into the Ren and 6 and Liliana tandem. We hit Bloodbraid Elf into Tarmogoyf. We had more interaction. It was really, really good. So we showed them the meaning of value. We were able to fade that window where they were able to combo off, and we got there. So good times. Let's take a quick look at the side. Okay, guys, so against the 4-color CopyCat deck, I think our sideboarding should be on the more conservative side of things. These are the 5 cards that we're considering. Kalidas is a very, very good value play, but I think he might actually be the weakest of these 4, because remember that Plague Engineer not only is going to kill their X1s for fun, it is also going to shut off the combo. If we name Cat with Plague Engineer, they can make all the infinite haste tokens they want. They're still 0/3s. So I think Plague Engineer, despite not necessarily being the most impressive against their big blockers, shuts off the combo, can kill the Birds of Paradise, and can kill Snake at parity, which is very, very big game against Icefang Coatl. Ditto Liliana, the Last Hope. They're playing Fiery Justice, so we might want to rebuy threats with her, or we might just want to take up and kill X1s with her. She can also threaten to finish off the Felidar Guardian with a ping effect, kind of like Ren and 6, or for attacking with a Bloodbraid Elf or a 3/4 Goyf. All those things can come into play. So you can see the use cases for Plague Man and Liliana, and don't get me wrong, you can really see the use cases for Kalidas as well. But I think Kalidas, in my estimation, is the weakest of these 5, and I also think we don't have that many bad cards to bring out. Like, if I'm looking at the deck, I don't really want to lose any of these cards. I don't even necessarily want to lose a couple Inquisitions and a couple Scoozes, but I think they're the weakest cards we've got. We move away from discard to some degree because it is such a value-oriented matchup. We want threats and answers, but they're a combo deck and they have a lot of things that get value when they hit the field, so I don't want to move too far away from discard either. So here, and they're set up to grind pretty, go pretty deep with grinding, so I think it'd be a mistake to side out Tracker. I don't think we really want to lose Bloodbraid Elves either. I think supposed to keep all 4 Lilianas, probably supposed to keep all 4 Ren. I don't really see other cards to cut, Maybe, is it possible that we should move away from some number of Lightning Bolt? Again, possible, but I don't think so. Like killing the turn 1 bird. You can even Bolt Saheeli if you need to. I think we just want to sideboard conservatively, so this is what I did. We took out those 4, we add these 4, and we actually omit Kalidas. So anyone who's got a lot of experience on Jund against this matchup, if you have an alternative take on how to sideboard, please feel free to let us all know in the comments. But I think the theory behind this is at least reasonable, and that's what we did. So see you for game 2. Alright, my friends, it is game 2. We're on the draw, and our hand is okay. We don't have the early interaction that we really like to see. Obviously, trophying of birds is not very good, so we don't have a great way to disrupt their opening progressions. No discard, no great kill spells, but on the other hand, we do have a lot of really high-value 3-drops. We've got a 2-lander. We're going to likely hit the 3rd land on curve. So in my view, this is a keep. The opponent did also mulligan, so that's helpful as well, and they just have Stomping Ground turn 1. We draw Liliana, the Last Hope. That's not very impressive, simply because it adds to our repertoire of very strong 3-drops, but we don't have the 3rd land yet. We don't have the early interaction. Opponent goes Snow-Covered Plains and pass. I didn't crack Verdant Catacombs because, number one, I don't want to thin the deck, and number two, we didn't see Blood Moon game one, but I'm still kind of playing around it. Like, if we can extend the game, we have such value in hand. I don't want to just get mooned out of the game, right? So, unfortunately, we're continuing to draw high curve threats. That's really not where we want to be. I went and got a Swamp, again, respecting Blood Moon, and it's just Tarmogoyf time. So, obviously, these are not the draws we wanted to see, but that's what we've got. So, see what the opponent's going to come up with. It's just a Fiery Justice taking care of the Tarmogoyf. That's fine with me. So, really want to hit the third land, untap third land, go on the Liliana plan, and it's another Tarmogoyf. Well, at least it is a castable card. There are plenty of cards that were not castable, so we can't be too mad about it, but our keep has not panned out thus far. This is really not where we wish to be. We are ahead of the opponent on resources, but anything could happen here. They go Felidar Guardian, untapping Snow-Covered Plains, and passing back to us, and we draw yet another 3-drop. Pretty awful. So, given the plethora of ping effects in our deck, I am going to make the bluff attack with the Tarmogoyf. Opponent's going to call our bluff, so that's pretty unfortunate, because we don't have anything to follow up with. So the opponent has read us for the bluff both times. They didn't fall for it game 1, they didn't fall for it game 2. And right now we're just kind of holding up trophy. At least we don't have to worry about ramping them anymore because they're already on land number 5, right? So it's back to us, and it's Narset Parter of Veils. Very good value-oriented play. You feel the game start to maybe, slip away a little bit. At least that's the sensation. But hey, the opponent's got 3 cards in hand. We've got 7, right? So maybe that's all in our heads. We just have to hope we hit our third land finally. So end step, we're definitely trophying something. We've got to use our mana efficiently this turn. And it's pretty clearly got to be the Felidar Guardian. Here's why. Number one, we don't want to leave the combo piece on the field. We could just die to Saheeli. We can't have that. So we've got to take care of the Guardian. Number two, this does clear the way for us to, in theory, attack Narset off the field. The likeliest interaction they'll have for it is Path to Exile, which, hey, we could use the land, right? So that wouldn't be the end of the world. They cannot flash in Ice Fang Coatl with the lands they have untapped, and nothing else that I can think of kills the Tarmogoyf that they're likely to play. So, back to us. Goyf is a nice fat 4-5, and we hit our third land. Good times. But before we even show them that we have the third land, we'll attack with the Goyf. See if they've got anything to say about it here. And they don't. So Goyf will eat Narset for breakfast. Feels good. And then, second main phase, we finally get to unleash the power of this hand. And we could make a couple different plays here. Definitely a few different things that are viable, but I think the thing to do is just play the Liliana. We'll tick her up, and we could actually tick up the other Liliana, but we have a plethora of ways to kill the board, to kill X1s. I think the Plague Engineer is actually most surplus to requirements, and you never know what could happen. We want to keep our Lilianas around, I think, so for at least one turn, I'll keep the second Lily in hand. Opponent will pitch a path, and look at that, they got Celestial Purge for our Lily Veil, so that decision was immediately rewarded. Definitely feels good, and it's back over to the opponent. We know they have that Teferi in hand. Sure enough, Teferi bouncing Goyf is the play. Very annoying card, very obnoxious card is Teferi, but hey, we hit our third land, we're okay. And the Saheeli makes an appearance. Boy, are we glad we trophied the Guardian. So Saheeli will tick up, Scry, chipping us for 1. We draw yet another clunky 3-drop. It's Tireless Tracker. So obviously not the greatest. Another really interesting spot. A big part of me wants to just replay the Tarmogoyf and say, okay, can you deal with this? If not, Goyf is just going to keep eating your Planeswalkers 1 per turn. And of course, if one of their ways to deal with it would be a Coatl, we have the Plague Man, the Last Hope to take care of that. Big problem with that is that we could just be dead to a Felidar Guardian in hand or off the top of the deck. Can't do anything about the top of the deck, but we can do something about the hand. So I'm going to play the Liliana. Pitching that Tracker is pretty free. Getting whatever's out of their hand, out of their hand. It's a Wall of Blossom, so I'm actually really happy getting rid of a wall. Teferi will tick up, Saheeli will tick up. Opponent will play the Coatl main phase looking for more action, and it's a mere Windswept Heath. So the Coatl is annoying for sure. We top deck Renin 6 though. That's actually, okay, definitely an interesting line. So once again, we could play the Liliana, take up, kill the Coatl, good value. We could play the Plague Engineer Naming Snake, also good value, and arguably better because it can start attacking the Planeswalkers next turn. Or we can do this. We can Edict with Liliana, which is a less value-oriented way. Uh-oh, client, don't do this to me. We're just going to wait and let it sort itself out. So anyway, Edicting with a Liliana here is a less value-oriented way to use her specifically. But our hand is fire. We don't need to take up. We're pretty happy to Edict away that Coatl. And then what's going to happen is we're going to get to play the Renin 6, buy back a land, play the Tarmogoyf, and that is the most overall efficient way to do things as a whole, even if we are not necessarily the most efficient with any one single use case. Like, it would be nice to ping with Renin 6 maybe in a different universe, but this is just the best way to do things, in my opinion. And, again, we're not touching the client. We're going to let it work itself out here. Don't you love it? Don't you love this cutting-edge technology from MTGO? Oh man, there's never a replay without some kind of an issue, but hopefully this just resolves here. Whew. Well, usually it will have resolved by now, but still not going to do anything. Still not going to take any action, because if we start clicking around, you know the client's just going to freeze and have to be shut down. Anyway, guys, I do hope you are enjoying this league here. It is, once again, for those who maybe skip past the introduction, if you're a Rock loyalist, don't panic. We're not abandoning the Rock just because we played Jund twice in a row, right? I'm just using the cards while we have them, while I have the Renin 6s to borrow from our patron Mark, putting them to use, and wanted to show you this league. Alright, maybe we do have to cut the video here. Alright, my friends, we're back. Never a dull moment with the replays, right? We were somewhere around here. We ticked up the Lily, got the Wall of Blossoms out of the hand, pitched the Tireless Tracker. So as I was saying, never a dull moment with these replays. There's always some kind of an issue, but we're grateful. We're grateful that it's back and seems to be fully functional. So as we were saying, they play the Coatl, they find a land, and as I was explaining, this is the optimal sequencing in my view. We Edict the Coatl, which does unlock our ability to play the Renin 6 to buy back a land rather than having to use it or some other play to take care of the board. And then we, of course, get Tarmogoyf back as well, which is really, really nice to pressure these Planeswalkers. Once again, the opponent does have a window to top deck the Felidar Guardian and combo off, but instead, it's only a land. So they get to scry with the Saheeli and take the Teferi up, but that's about it. We draw Lightning Bolt, so obviously a few different ways we could go about things here. I actually said, even though this is not very value-oriented, I don't mind getting just playing this as a Volshock Berserkers or whatever the card is that's a 3/2 haste. We could have, bolted and played a Plague Man or something as well, but I kind of like keeping the Bolt in the back pocket for closing power. But either way, no matter how we sequence, we do need to attack the Planeswalkers off the field. We ping one, and then we get to... we could tick up with the Liliana of the Veil, but I think the rest of our hand is good enough that we're pretty happy to just leave her at 2 as well. Opponent's going to ruin their scry by fetching, but maybe they would rather just thin out the deck. Hard call to make, don't know which one's better. But, and again, I don't know if it was better to hold on to the Bloodbraid Elf and just use the Bolt there instead, but again, I don't mind just getting the proactive stuff down. Using it as a 3/2 haste, we're so far ahead on resources that it almost doesn't matter. We just have to not get comboed off on, right? So putting as many things down that can pressure the Planeswalkers seems okay. Opponent has a Coatl off the top, which is pretty good. Just, if nothing else, it's a redraw. And then the Saheeli. Okay, so amusingly, our life total is kind of low between the Peatland activations and all these Saheeli pings we've been taking. But we have all the value we could ever want in the world. So we could play Plague Man, or we could play Liliana the Last Hope. It's kind of 6-1, half dozen of the other. Plague Engineer is more proactive of a way to end the game, so we play the Plague Man. And then we will attack as follows. We send in both creatures. We hit the opponent for 5. We hit Saheeli down to 1. And then, of course, the Renin 6 will ping to finish off Saheeli. And the opponent's facing lethal on field. We've still got that Lightning Bolt in hand. And let's see what their top deck is. Well, it's Fiery Justice. Fiery Justice. Definitely a decent one. Going to take care of some aspects of our board, buffer our life total out of the single digits range, but the opponent's just dead. End step, we fire off the bolt to their face, and they'll just scoop to that. So we get there yet again, this time against the CopyCat deck. And we battled through a lot of value there because we had a lot of value of our own. We did have that really sketchy window where our keep did not pan out. We were assuming we're either going to hit some interaction off the top, some good cheap interaction, or the 3rd and 4th land nice and early to make our hand chock full of 3 and 4 value-oriented drops really shine. We kind of did neither. We kind of just drew more clunky curve topper things. So for a little while there, we were kind of at their mercy, but they were not ruthless with their curve out, and therefore once we finally stopped spinning our wheels, we were able to take over the game and grind them out. So that one felt great, my friends. Feels really, really good to take down a deck like this 2-0 nice and clean. We advanced to 4-0 in the league. We're playing for the 5-0, so stay with me for that, and we'll go to round 5. On the draw, my friends, for the 5th and final round of this Modern League, and we have been dumpstering our opponents with hands just like this one, with bolts and planeswalkers and 2-for-1. So it's a keep. It's a keep for sure in a blind game 1, and we'll see what the opponent's got. They're going to take a mulligan down to 6, which is nice, but then we see Copperline Gorge into Shriekhorn, and we know that it is Dredge, and all of a sudden our hand does not look particularly appealing. We'll play the Foothills there so we can get like Stomping Ground on the end step, have as many green lands as possible in case we draw scoos. Opponent will mill over Looting and Gemstone Mine on their turn, on our turn, excuse me, nothing too scary, but they get another crack at it during the upkeep, and we see Hogak is in the deck, and they hit us with the Creeping Chill. Little bit of a minor non-bow between these two cards, just because you're less likely to get the turn 2 Hogak, but this does look more like traditional Dredge, which doesn't really go all in on the turn 2 Hogak. It's more like a spicy 1 or 2 of in a lot of these decks. So, not that much of a combo. Non-bow, excuse me. Both very, very good cards. And the opponent's not done there because they've got Cathartic Reunion pitching Bloodghast and Stinkweed Imp. So, we're in deep trouble. We have to hope they really brick on the Stinkweed Imp Dredge. And their first one hits Prized Amalgam, Narcomoeba, Prized Amalgam, another Golgari Thug to keep dredging, and then they dredge over Conflagrate, another Bloodghast, another Narcomoeba, and I just scooped to that. I just scooped to that because there's no possible way we beat it. Even if we top deck exactly Scoos next turn, we are dead 7 different ways from Sunday. I'm just not going to show them what deck we're playing, you know? So, Wooded Foothills pass. It could be Burn without a turn 1 play, without a turn 1 creature. It could be Scapeshift. It could be any number of decks. But it is Jund, and hopefully they don't know that. They might suspect it. It might be on their radar, but they don't know it. So, here's where the pit of despair builds in our stomach, my friends, because we're rolling through the league, and now we just get dredged. We just get dredged. It's a total non-game game 1, and we now have to try to win both post-sideboard games to earn our 5-0. Feels bad, feels real bad to give up the free win game 1, but let's take a look at the sideboard, see what we can do. Okay, so against Dredge, have you noticed a trend, my friends? I'm pretty sure all 3 Plague Men have come in all 5 matches here. This card is off the chain, my favorite card from Modern Horizons, by far. Gotta love him. In he comes, and in comes Kalitas, in comes Triple Nile Spellbomb, in comes Grafdigger's Cage, and in comes my change of Surgical Extraction in place of Damnation, which admittedly would probably come in here anyway, but these 9 cards are all great in the matchup, so do we have enough cards to side out? And in my estimation, yes, we do. This has just been not the league for Tireless Tracker to shine. Out she comes, and out comes our favorite Planeswalker, Lily. And our other favorite Planeswalker for the Jund mains, Ren and 6. Just not the matchup for them. Again, you could leave in a Jund, a Ren as a consistency tool, but in my estimation, against Dredge, all of these other cards are better. I know some people like to side out Fatal Push. I'm actually not really one of them. Granted, with bolts around, we're more free to trim on pushes, but I think you can leverage Fatal Push to a decent degree. Like, Push becomes actively good against Dredge if you have Skoos, or sometimes Cage, or Spellbomb, or Kalitas, or maybe alongside Plague Engineer as a way to control the board. Like, we have a lot of ways to make Push decent, so I personally leave in the pushes most of the time in setups like this, but in any case, my friends, we got our work cut out for us. We got to try to win both post-side games against Dredge. Let's go get them. Alright, my friends, Game 2 we are on the play, and on the play I tend to keep hands that are discard into ooze if they're otherwise functional, and they are. I just mentioned in the sideboard tech how Fatal Push is decent alongside a card like Skoos, and Tarmogoyf is a nice high-value card in the matchup. Do not underestimate how good Goyf can be, so on the draw, given how many pieces of graveyard hate we do have, I might feel obligated to mulligan this, but here on the play, I think we can keep it. Hopefully it'll pay off, but we are going to give it a keep here on the play. The opponent mulligans all the way down to 5. So, that could be really, really good, and in most cases it will be, but in this particular instance, we actually live the nightmare. We live the nightmare of the opponent mulling so low that they only have Legal Inquisition takes with that they actively want to get in the graveyard. So it's Conflagrate, it's Golgari Thug, it's Life from the Loam. It's all pretty bad. I did decide to go ahead and take Life from the Loam, but man oh man is that living the nightmare. It's the Dredge card that has that it's less of a Dredge effect than Golgari Thug. And since they do have 2 lands in hand, we might expect them to start dredging immediately. That's what they do. And, oh man, that punishes us severely. There's another Conflagrate to deal with, and it's in the yard. When we deliberately didn't put it in the yard last turn, it's just kind of a nightmare all around. So, what do? We draw another Fatal Push. Yeah, not very good. I decided to throw out the Goyf here, hoping that maybe they will decide it to be the best course of action to Conflagrate the Goyf, put a bunch of stuff in the graveyard, not do much else, and then maybe we can draw a Spellbomb or something to punish them for that. But the opponent, instead, they're going to Dredge and get a couple of Narcomoebas back, get a free little weenie army rolling on field, and then they're going to shock. Then it's going to be just another Life from the Loam, buying back a bunch of lands. It's just all a little bit rough, shrinking our Goyf, insult to injury, and it's back to us. So we draw Bloodbraid Elf. Our draws have been pretty bad. All we can really do is play out the Skoos. We're going to eat this Conflagrate, force them to spend their other Conflagrate as well. Like, there's just no great way around it. I don't think we can afford to Dirtle either. So opponent will Dredge yet again, hitting yet another Narcomoeba and a Creeping Chill. So, at least they're not hitting other Dredgers. We would be pretty much dead and buried if they did, but they're hitting quite enough value. They're not exactly bricking, and they do have the requisite lands to go get the Conflagrate in the yard and then actually cast it. However, due to the fact that they've got a discard before that, they cannot manage to, or they don't want to spend the resources from the hand to finish off our Goyf as well. So they do get to just take care of our Skoos, pitch the Golgari Thug. That's all bad enough, right? And they're chipping in with the Narcomoebas, but yeah, and we do draw our 4th land. That's fine. It's unlocks our Bloodbraid Elf, but man, oh man, we need some help. So we're hoping to cascade into like a Nile Spellbomb, or maybe Surgical. Instead, we cascade into Lightning Bolt. So this leaves us with only one choice. We are just erasing. So we bolt the Narcomoeba that was sitting back, and we attack for 7. That's actually kind of a lot. I'm not used to having such a proactive clock on Rock as I do here on Jund with the Bloodbraid. So back to the opponent here. And, oh no, replay. Are you going to mess up for us yet again? See if next turn does anything here. No, it doesn't. Alright, let's try it again. You know, it's not enough for these graveyard decks to be super annoying to play against. They've got to crash our replay client, too. Here we go, it's working again. Okay, let's hit pause. So the opponent dredges life from the loam, they get an Amalgam in the yard, they play a Golgari Thug, or maybe they dredge Golgari Thug, I don't exactly remember. But in any case, we're back to a functional replay, that's a beautiful thing, and we're kind of trying to race the opponent. We don't have much else going on, and the opponent's going to chip in with a Narcomoeba, advancing the clock, but sitting back with the rest of the board. So, what do we do here? Well, they didn't get the Amalgam back, that's a good thing, and we actually draw Surgical Extraction, so that's pretty spicy. Think for a moment here what you would do, my friends. This would kind of be a cool what's the play situation. We've got the Peatland to crack, we've got, the certain board state, but show you what I did. We're just going to go ahead and push. So we see a Golgari Thug targeting Narcomoeba. We're going to let that happen, and we're actually going to extract Golgari Thug itself. See what's in the hand. It's only lands and life from the loam. It's only lands and life from the loam. We see that the opponent does have 3 Nature's Claims, 1 copy of Hogak, a Forgotten Cave for value with life from the loam, and 2 copies of Assassin's Trophy and a Blast Zone. So those are kind of the cards that we don't know for sure in the deck. We don't see any Lightning Axes, which is kind of cool. And so no dredging the Golgari Thug for them next turn, which means not as powerful of a dredge and no blocker to buy back. So we just push the other Narcomoeba. We are all in on racing. We put the opponent down to 3. Opponent's got to have a great dredge this turn, and it's a pretty good one. They get a Creeping Chill, which is going to help stabilize their life total, and a Narcomoeba to come back to keep clogging up the ground. Prized Amalgam, Delayed Trigger. They've got a lot going on. They'll cast life from the loam, they'll play out a land, and they're chipping back across with Narcomoeba, so this is a really sketchy game. We're both on the ropes, and we draw Inquisition of Kozilek. Not a good draw, not what we need right now. We're going to crack the Peatland first, and it's very important that we did. We didn't want to check first with Inquisition and then crack the Peatland, because if we get a 2-drop, we cannot play it that way. So that's exactly what happens. We're going to get a Tarmogoyf off of it. Better than nothing, and that actually does free us up to attack. We're not dead on board if they don't have an answer to the Goyf. So we attack, we force a chump block, we put them down to 3, we play another Tarmogoyf, and we cross our fingers hoping it is good enough. Opponent will dredge life from the loam. Bloodghast will come back. It's got haste. That's a little scary, but it's still not lethal. They've got Hogak as well, and they're going to tap out. They're going to dredge. They're going to delve, rather, to cast the Hogak, but our graveyard is big enough that doesn't exactly shrink the Goyf, and the opponent is just dead. They can block 2 things, but the Bloodbraid Elf's going to get through and finish them off. So holy moly, guys, that one looks so bad. And they answered our Skoos. Our discard into Scavenging Ooze was not sufficient to stop them from going off. So when our stuff was answered and when they had such an OP opening hand, despite the multi-5 against our Inquisition, we had no choice but to pivot to the race mode. We pivot to racing, we attack aggressively with the Goyf, we slam the Bloodbraid Elf, we bolt the blockers, and we just go into pure race mode, and hey, that got us there. It wasn't the most elegant way, it wasn't the most controlling way, it wasn't the cleanest way, and we were dead to a few different things, but we didn't end up getting punished. We did get there, and that just shows you the proactivity, the plan B of just being proactive and hoping it's good enough. Sometimes it is good enough, so we scraped out a win here, Game 2 against Dredge, and now, my friends, it all comes down to the final game of this league. Can we get the 5-0? Let's find out. Alrighty, so it's Game 3, the opponent's keeping 7, we hate to see that, and we can't keep this, Bolt Push, Kolagin's Command, this is not the Humans matchup, this is not Infect, we cannot keep a hand like that. We mulligan to 6, and this 6 is even worse. Maybe not even worse, because Inquisition is at least better than just trying to react to the board, but this is not a keep either, so we just feel it slipping away, gotta go to 5. Got to go all the way down to 5 and hope it is good enough when we get there. If the replay client will let us get there. And we did. Okay, so it's a 1-land 7 that has to go down to 5, which is pretty terrible, but it's actually a really good one. So we bottomed, I think that was a Plague Engineer, it went a little too quickly for me to see, but we bottomed the highest curve card, and then we have to bottom another one. What do we do here? Well, it is tempting maybe to bottom the Fatal Push here, but I actually made a more unorthodox decision, but I think the right one, to bottom Inquisition. We just don't really have a window to cast Inquisition. We have to assume that our hate pieces are going to be good enough to take the game long, we're going to hit more land drops, and then Fatal Push is going to be good when we get there, right? So I think that's the correct play, even though it seems a little bit unorthodox, let's say. And the opponent's got the perfect turn 1 play, looting into Stinkweed Imp and Life from the Loam in the graveyard. That's 2 Dredgers. So, and we draw a land right off the top. That's awesome. That we really needed to see a second land. We got it. Now what do we do with it? So, the most resource-efficient play is to play Grafdigger's Cage, hope they don't have a Nature's Claim, and then next turn we can Spellbomb, and we are holding up the Spellbomb with the ability to cantrip with it. However, we are so dead and buried if they do have a claim that I chose to run out the Spellbomb instead and immediately trade it for their graveyard. Not the most resource-efficient play you've ever seen by far. Not the most resource-efficient play we had access to. But my instincts told me that they had a claim, and I think that was the right play for sure if they did have a claim. We are just not going to win if they had a claim for the cage. So that's the play. Back to us. Kawagan's Command, not a very good draw here, so we just got to play the Skoos. Hope they don't have an answer to it. And, we saw their sideboarding. They had 2 trophies and 3 claims, so they're way likelier to have an answer to Cage than to Skoos, and they don't have one, at least not one they had to cast right away, right? So, Blackcleave Cliffs, it's an okay draw. It's the 3rd land, sure. We would prefer it to be green, but we'll take it. And we'll hit the opponent for 2. Still no answer to the Skoos, so we might as well play the Cage here and see if they do indeed have a claim. So, end step, they're going to claim it. We knew it. So, our sequencing has been good. We would have lost if we had run out the Cage turn 1 for sure. Unless they just drew it, but that doesn't seem likely given what they're up to. Opponent's just making land drops and passing. We will eat the claim. That's bad if we draw Tarmogoyf, but it's good against their eventual potential Hogak, which is one thing they could have in hand that explains their lack of action. Immediately punished for eating the claim by drawing a Tarmogoyf, but hopefully the game will not hinge upon that specific size of the Goyf, right? By, shrinking it by 1 hopefully won't be the difference maker. And we've got to take a little bit of a risk here. We are behind still on resources, so we've got to play the Goyf. Pass the turn with only 1 Skoos activation at the ready. But we've got to be proactive. Make the opponent have some stuff. They haven't really had it so far after that initial salvo. Opponent's got a Shriekhorn, though. That's a good enabler, but nothing else. So I was afraid that here they would go Shriekhorn into looting and just overload the Skoos. They didn't have that. So that's a relief. We get to untap. Blackcleave Cliffs, pretty bad draw. If we drew a land, we want it to be untapped in green. This is neither. So feels bad, man, but we will attack. And opponents still got nothing. They're starting to take the beats. They're down to 11. We're going to play the Cliffs. We don't have the luxury of commanding the Shriekhorn. We need our Skoos activations. And they Shriekhorn into double Bloodghast, and this is a really intriguing decision. It's like, do we care about the Bloodghasts or not? Really tough call in my opinion. I thought about this for a while. Obviously, it's great value to eat the 2 Bloodghasts, gain the life, all that good stuff. But at the same time, they can't block. Do we really care about them? But if they do find a way to answer our board, the Bloodghasts are a way that they can also end the game proactively. So I decided to take the middle road. We're going to eat 1 Bloodghast. We're going to assume they won't have another enabler off the top, and we hope that 1 Skoos activation will not be overloaded by 1 Shriekhorn activation. So we're trying to walk the middle road, and they mill over Trophy, which is great for us, and Golgari Thug, which is great for them, but before they go to the draw step, we do have that Skoos activation to eat the Thug, prevent the Dredge. So we have been rewarded for that middle-of-the-road sequencing. They can buy back a Bloodghast here probably if they want to, but instead they have Cathartic Reunion, so they do have another enabler in hand that they've been slow rolling, but they've been slow rolling it because they don't have another Dredge card to pitch. Thankfully for us, it's no other Dredge card, but they do have Hogak, and they do have Conflagrate, so that's some gas in hand. A lot more gas, frankly, than we expected at this stage of proceedings. And they are indeed going to Conflagrate. Nope, that's not what happened. Darn it, gotta go again. We are back, my friends, with a replay driving me absolutely insane. This is like the 6th time I've restarted my client. It just keeps showing the game ending when they cast Conflagrate. So we're trying to just skip through the turns to ensure that will not happen if at all possible. So let's see, and it just does it again. Oh, this is so brutal. This is so brutal. I think I'm just going to have to explain what happened. It's a shame we can't show the actual end of the league, but I don't know what else to do. I've restarted the client a million times, and this is just where we're at. So the game actually ended in just a couple more short turns. What happens is the opponent is able to Conflagrate away our Skoos, but not our Tarmogoyf. So we untap, we draw nothing, we Kolagin's command to shock them and to kill the Shriekhorn, and then they spend their next turn getting the Hogak back. I don't remember exactly how. Maybe they get a Bloodghast back and then whatever. Maybe they even got the Bloodghast back this turn, I can't remember. But guess what we draw off the top, my friends? It is an Assassin's Trophy. So we trophy away the big dummy who's going to get banned, and then the real, original, OG big dummy of the format, Tarmogoyf, is what gets us over the line for the victory for the second post-side game in a row. So truly, my friends, my apologies that the replay is just shutting us down here at the end. I think the card Conflagrate causes it to go haywire. I tried over and over again. I tried hitting play. I tried hitting next turn. I tried restarting the client legitimately 5 or 6 times. I just can't get it to show what actually happened. It just shows the opponent scooping here after they cast Conflagrate, which is of course not the case. But anyway, like I said, Skoos bites the dust to Conflagrate, but Kolagin's command advances the clock, takes care of Shriekhorn. The opponent has a Hogak to make the stand, and Trophy says no. Assassin's Trophy says, get out of here, big guy. You are gone. You are going to get banned, so eat this trophy in the meantime. Tarmogoyf carries the day, and that is our league. That is our 5-0. Okay, everybody, so that was the 5-0 with Marc-Andre Kurasinski's Jund list with a couple changes from what he initially submitted to me. As I said in my first video, the Donation League video for his list, we did take it up to the 24th land. It was either cut the Barrenmoor and stay at 23, or cut an Abrupt Decay and keep the Barrenmoor. We cut the Decay, we kept the Moor. Moor has been awesome, so I like being on 24 lands here. And then for this particular league, relative to last video, my change was to add that Surgical. And hey, Surgical ended up being arguably what helped us win the game in Game 2. Just more Graveyard Hate in general seems really good right now. Once again, I do apologize for the replay failing us at the climax of the league, but that's alright. You didn't get to see it exactly happen, but you know what happened. We got there with the trophy right off the top. Couldn't ask for better. After that mull to 5, after a really hard-fought series, in a hard-fought league in general, we did curve out nicely, but we also had some more sketchy patches. But we showed the dominance of the deck when it's firing on all cylinders, and we showed its ability to scrape by when things aren't quite going so well as well. So absolutely awesome. I am recording this the same day that I played it, so I don't know whether or not it will get published yet. Lots of people playing Jund these days, so odds are not with us, but let's hope anyway, my friends. Let's hope that I'll be linking a comment below showing that it did indeed get published. But either way, regardless of whether we get that honor or not, this was a very, very fun league to play. I'm happy to have been able to bring it to you. And thanks once again to Mark for lending me the Renin 6 and for, generating enough donation funds to generate this donation league to begin with. Thank you, as always, to all Patreon supporters. I absolutely love you guys. Could not do it without you. And once again, I'll reassure my rock aficionados that we're continuing to stay the course, to remain loyal to Rock, and we'll get back to playing that soon, as well as some more theory videos coming your way, maybe one breaking down my experiences here with an extended run on Jund and how that lines up with my extended experience on Rock over the last several months, and we might also be playing green-black elves on this channel for you soon. So make sure you stay tuned, make sure you hit subscribe if you have not already done so. Thank you so much for everybody supporting me on Patreon or any other way you can. I do truly appreciate it, and I remain committed to bringing you this content with as much expertise and as much consistency as I possibly can. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody out there has a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.